Hello, North America, and welcome to another segment of the VIP Business Talk Show here on VIP Internet TV. Thanks to YouTube. Johanne, YouTube. Well, we've come a long way, let me tell you.
Yeah, we have.
Anyways, folks, we welcome you to another segment tonight. On this segment, we're going to be talking about credit card fees and what they should be at. Let me set the stage because I think you'd be good at this, Johanne. She's very good, being a trustee, business trustee up here in Canada, bankruptcy trustee, and in the States, she's known as a bankruptcy attorney, for lack of better words.
Correct.
Right. And Johanne has done quite well for herself here in Montreal. She commands 6 offices, and of course, she's been around for the longest time, but we won't say how long.
Yeah, no. We don't want to give our ages away.
Right. There we go.
Even though maybe you can tell a little bit.
Credit cards. What do you think, Johanne? I have an idea. Let me set the stage. Why is it that credit card companies don't come up with an idea like, in terms of fees, where, for example, if your credit is very good, like mine, for example, is right now, and yes, maybe I am bragging because it wasn't always the case many, many years ago, but because my credit is good, why should I pay, for example, 2% per month? Wouldn't it be fair for them to charge me 1%?
Oh, yeah.
You see, nobody ever thought of that. And maybe that could be a very aggressive marketing for you credit card companies out there, for scratching your head, figuring out how is it that, competition is so fierce nowadays, because it is. Well, let me tell you, one of my beliefs is that people do not, Johanne, for the most part, like myself, I don't want to pay 19 to 25% per year.
A lot of people...
I consider that loan sharking.
Exactly. A lot of people, what they do is they use the card and they ensure that they pay it at the end of the month.
Right, like I do all the time, 99.9
interest on it.
Agreed. 99.9% of the time, that's what I do, is that I make sure I pay the amount, even if I have to borrow from somebody else, a third party, to pay the credit card company, because I'm just not in agreement paying those high interest rates that are compounded month in and month out. I mean, we know the tricks. So if they know that I have an excellent credit score, why don't they charge me 1% per month? And maybe, just maybe, I may go for it at 12% annually, Johanne.
I agree. Or else what happens, even if you are using it, it's a good idea, Don, for them to start doing that. Because what happens is, like, the credit card companies now have started to, of course, they're making billions of revenues, but they're still being subject to quite huge losses, because people now, they're not able to pay their balances that are due on the credit cards, and they're using a lot of facilities in order to negotiate or reduce some of the some of the credit card liability that are on it. So if the credit card company would come up with some type of saying, well, viewing you've always met your minimum requirements on time and you're an excellent payer, we'll give you a reduction, like you're saying, of 1%.
Right. And Johanne, I want to answer that statement of the credit card companies bearing significant losses because of a lot of people that are in financial difficulties out there. But why should I be the one that has to pay for those people? If I have an excellent credit score because I've maintained that, I've worked hard to get that credit score, I don't want to be paying again those high interest rates. So I think a message that we want to send out to the credit card companies is that I'd be comfortable at 12%, 1% per month. Yeah. Notice I didn't say 5%, 12%, not 19% plus. So you agree with that statement?
And plus also too, like when on some of these credit card balances, I don't know exactly if it's happening like that in U.S., but there's been a bit of legislation that has passed here up in Canada, or not,
which is
the province. Well, now on the credit card, on your credit card statement, you're going to see if you maintain the minimum at whatever interest rate, the 19 or 20% that they charge. I mean, like sometimes you can have a credit card balance of $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, and paying the minimum of maybe $30, $40 a month. You could be for the next 30 years paying those credit cards, and they've got to indicate it now on the statement clearly on the statement. And we see that now up here. So what is happening is that the consumer before was not so much realizing that this was happening. So, you know, they were turning around making their minimum. They weren't, they were assuming because the capital wasn't going down because they were recharging, and they weren't realizing that the minimum payment with the interest was only interest that they were paying on the capital and very little capital, that it would have taken them a lifetime to pay it down. And now that the consumer sees it on his statement, well, now he's looking at his budget in a different way. And this is why there's a lot more settling of debt that is taking place, because now they see what's happening and what the credit cards were doing. And therefore the consumer is saying, well, wait a minute, you know, this $4,000, it's going to take me a lifetime to pay
no
it
kidding.
down.
They
And so therefore the credit card companies too, you know, have a bit of responsibility on it to be a little fair with, particularly with a good payer, to have a better rate.
And I think, you know, for the better part of me, I think, folks, I did come up with a great idea, and I hope the credit card companies' marketing departments get a hold of this year's segment of the VIP Business Talk Show and say, you know what? Hey, maybe we may introduce this, and then the rest will follow suit, because, you know, competition is fierce in any business, and I'm sure even in the financial sector where credit card companies have had a run for their money. And I know for a fact that they're in dire need of introducing new products, new services. Well, why don't you start, you know, back and give people a chance? Come on, credit card companies. I think you've made billions of dollars in the last 50 years, you know, that you've had these credit cards out there, or 60 years for that matter. I think it's about high time that you give consumers a real break. And you know what? You'll have more and more consumers respecting you for it. They're gonna want to maintain. As a matter of fact, that's another point I want to bring across, Johanne. When consumers get recognized, for example, that we have a very good credit, we want to maintain it that way. Just like I get recognized every once in a while on my insurance companies where I haven't had any claims, or I've been a good driver, and they give me preferential rates, maybe that extra 10-15%. And guess what?
That's a very good strategy for credit cards to use too.
Credit cards,
yeah,
yes.
Like a little bit like the insurance company.
Right,
Excellent,
right. And who
very
knows?
Well thought of.
I may even be compelled to start borrowing money from you credit card companies at 12%, because, you know, after all, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. But at 19% or more, forget about it, as they say in Jersey and New York. Right, Johanne?
Yeah, you're right.
So, folks, I want to thank you very, very much for joining us in this segment here, where we talked about the probabilities of credit card companies finally hailing our frequency that we don't want to pay high interest rates. We want to pay less. So spread the word out, or better still, send this year's segment of the VIP Business Talk Show to your family and friends. Until next time, we want to wish you all the best in health and in wealth here on the VIP Business Talk Show.
Bye-bye.